There's plenty of
Probably
Twi'leks
like
with strong chins and good complexions. He's just not one of them.
And Kenner continues the excitement. Star Wars figures. The Empire Strikes Back Return of the Jedi.
Welcome to the Star Wars Collector's Archive podcast. It's the Cast. Newest news on the oldest toys, from bubble bath to belt buckles, from 12 packs to 2 packs.
New boss, alien bounty hunter of the Star Wars collection.
Watch out, Black Vader!
We bring the world of vintage Star Wars memorabilia alive with informative features and personal collectible stories.
Offer expires December 31st, 1979.
And R2-D2 with stethoscope.
The Supreme Master, the Emperor.
Brought to you by the Star Wars Collector's Archive. Skye and Steve talk about the worst character in the Star Wars saga, Bib Fortuna. We discuss different colored capes, amazing toothpaste, beezers, paint by numbers, and then are joined by the #1 bib collector in the world, Phidias Barrios, who eventually regales us with the stories of his amazing collection and how it was made. No shirt, no shoes, ne Jabba, no Badda, on this month's Skivecast. Wampa Wampa!
Welcome to Skivecast 94.
All right, so we just recorded the first 5 minutes of this episode with the wrong microphone. We're having all kinds of technological problems. That's why Steve's laughing. But you know what, Steve? I think it's okay because the first 5 minutes can be condensed a little bit, I think.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No one cares about my trip to Switzerland or my layover in Holland. What we do care about is the figure of the month, Steve. And as I said in the first draft of this episode, it's too late. You've already listened this far. We have already gotten credit for you listening to us. If we had advertisers, we would be able to tell them that you listened. It's too late. You are listening to the episode about the worst character in all of Star Wars. What character is that, Steve?
According to you, it's Bib Fortuna.
Yes. I hate Bib Fortuna. And the reasons why, I will say. Number one, he's disgusting. When I was a kid, he made me feel ill. Like I would look at those pointy teeth and I'd look at those disgusting head things and I would just get sick to my stomach. And the other thing is, Steve, like you were a child of the 90s and I was a child of the 80s. And when you were a child of the 80s, you knew a couple things. One, your house was definitely going to burn down.
Aha, a smoke detector. Every home should have at least one.
Just having one isn't enough.
And two, you were definitely going to be abducted and sexually raped and molested.
That's Jenny. But that's not Jenny's dad. If she gets into that car, that may be the last time you'll see Jenny. I'm McGruff, the crime dog. See those kids? Every day in this country, 60 kids disappear. Some run away, but a lot are kidnapped by strangers. Or even by people they know. So write to McGruff. And teach your kids to protect themselves. Help,
Okay.
fight out of crime.
Like, you don't understand the amount of public service announcements, how scared they had us.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, like, I would walk home from school, and they told you, okay, if you see the same car 2 days in a row, be careful. He may be trying to take you. So, like, there was just this Oldsmobile that was driving home from work, and I was convinced it was, like, that weirdo from Different Strokes who made Arnold take his shirt off, pretend to be a caveman or whatever. Like, I just knew that I was in danger. I would, like, run serpentine. I would hide behind bushes. I would go different routes.
I'm picturing this. I can see it. Yeah.
Yes. I lived in permanent fear of being abducted and murdered by child predators. And that's who Bib Fortuna is. It's scary knocking on a door, going into somebody's house.
Yeah.
Poor C-3PO and R2-D2 knock on the door, and he's all creepy and baga baga. And he's all like touching R2's dome inappropriately.
He's got those creepy fingernails. Yeah.
Exactly, this disgusting fingernails. So it's not really his fault that I associate him with these fears. Right. But it is his fault that he sucks so much that he was the only figure on the pegs at Ben Franklin's in Cushing Square. So that when my parents were willing to buy me a Star Wars figure, like I had to get a Bib Fortuna. I still have my childhood Bib Fortuna downstairs in a lunchbox.
Right.
but I don't want the thing. I don't feel nostalgia for it. It doesn't take me back to a simpler time and make America great again. It's just this like, it still fills me with repulsion and odium.
It's a cursed object.
Yes. So that's Bib Fortuna. And I think, Steve, that's it. That it's been a good month. What's the figure next month? No, all right, fine. we're going to talk about this thing. We're going to bring on Phidias Barrios, the Bruce White killer. He's going to come on. He's going to talk about his run, the most amazing and pointless run in all of Star Warsdom. I'm officially going to stop saying bad things about Bib Fortuna.
All right.
And then once I'm done, Steve, I'm going to treat him like any other. See, the thing is, the characters that you made me love, like through exposure, are like background characters, like Nikto, or you know the Death Squad
security
commander,
guard,
Bestman security guard. Like I can come to love them and sort of like them. This is not at all that. This is a character I've just negative feelings towards, but that's all going to change. And it's going to change right at the 4-minute and 37 mark of this recording, which is going to happen right. So, Steve, what I love about Bib Fortuna, great character.
Let's get some positive.
Just great character. I mean, I'm a language guy, so I love that he's a translator and that he works next to Jabba. And the thing is, like, George Lucas is so brave for putting such a challenging character in the beginning of the movie. I mean, this is like a kid's movie, and the real, like, your heroes interact with this actually quite frightening figure. So
grotesque,
grotesque. And I think that's awesome that George Lucas did that to children and forced them to do something so uncomfortable. Yeah. And I don't think that movies do that anymore. I don't think they start with really gross, uncomfortable characters.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, in terms of his design, there's quite a bit of information on that. I don't know if we're ready to get into it yet, because it ties into exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be talking a lot about his design. I did also want to say the weird thing that they did in the Star Wars Expanded Universe of making sexy Twi'leks. So, like, it's a whole other thing, right? Where there's, like, Ula, and then there's Ayla Secura.
Oh, right. Yeah. And then the Rebels pilot, right?
Yeah, Ula Sanduli, whatever. It's kind of a funny thing where they took the ugliest, most hideous thing, and it's not even like that species is ugly. It's just like he's ugly.
Yeah, I mean,
like, there's plenty of Twi'leks like, with strong chins and good complexions. He's just not one of them.
No, there's some Fabio Twi'leks out there, and just not him.
Yeah. Well, before we got cut off, Steve, you were talking about the coin, and you were talking about what you liked about the text on the coin. How does they refer to him on the back of the coin?
So on the back of the coin, he is referred to, let's see, 1 second, just had it. Here we go. A gruesome-looking, low-life creature.
That's awesome. Just a low-life creature.
Yeah, he's a low-life.
And on the other side, it has his name. So if you're thinking, well, how could you describe this? Let's pretend you're making a coin for kids. And
for kids. And you remind yourself of that.
Yes, and you put this fairly hideous character with multiple testicles and buttocks on his forehead. If you look at the coin, like, you'll see what I'm saying. If you're looking at the enhanced version, you can definitely see that. And it just gives his title as Majordomo.
Right.
Did you know what that meant, Steve, when you were a kid?
I mean, no. When I was a kid, this was the only instance of that word that I ever came across. It's like one of those weird things that Star Wars does is when you have kind of a not super common term that gets used in Star Wars, it kind of sticks in your head forever, and that's your only association.
Right.
So like with Majordomo, the first thing that comes to mind is this gruesome-looking low-life creature.
Well, because I now love Bib Fortuna, as you know, favorite character. Because Bib Fortuna, then Chewbacca. A really fun thing about Majordomo is what it means. So if you look up the etymology of the word, it mostly is used in Spanish, mayordomo, or Italian, mayordomo. But it all comes from the Latin root, majordomus. So major, like truly meaning like the chief, like the absolute top, like just like in the military, you can't get higher than a major.
Right.
And then domus, the house.
Right.
So it's like the actual translation, the actual definition of the word is the head steward of a large household.
Of the house, right.
So that's kind of cool because it's like he's not the leader. Obviously, that's Jabba, but you need somebody to run everything.
To run your house, yeah, right.
Right. So I think that's an interesting character idea. The Jabba the Hutt, obviously, I mean, he can't even walk. So how is he going to do anything? So to have this Majordomo, I don't think there's any other Majordomos in Star Wars.
None come to mind. No.
So that's yet another awesome point for Bib Fortuna. Hooray, Bib Fortuna. Okay, Steve, what else did you want to say now that we've caught up on the stuff that was lost on the bad microphone?
Well, speaking of his title, that does tie into a script note. So we could go that route.
We can flip the script.
Yeah.
Or is this behind the Steve?
It's going to be both, I guess.
Let's go behind the Steve. Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so speaking of his title of Majordomo, so in the early drafts of the script, he had a different title. It was The High Beezer of Hoth.
What?
Yeah, it makes no sense. What is a beezer? I had no idea. Never. That's another one of those like uncommon terms. But I guess it just, it's an old English word for, a chap, a person. So he's the high chap of. And now why Hoth? I'm not sure. It's strange because the old StarWars.com entry on Bib had it as that, and a couple other sources did. But then in another thing, I saw it was the High Beezer of Hutt, which made much more sense to me. But anyway, yeah, the High Beezer is Bib's original title, and he's described as a wizened old man dressed in a dark cloak and tall hat. Now that sounds more like your Prowler than what you end up with in the end. But so that's the script aspect of it. But and
then you sent pictures of what this looked like originally.
Yeah. So Ralph
a little bit more like a Imperial Dignitary, his kind of earlier versions.
Definitely, yeah. So Ralph McQuarrie was the guy who did the original designs for Bib, and this is a quote from that great book that came out, I guess, like a year or two ago, the McQuarrie Star Wars book. He says, "My early sketches for Bib Fortuna were among my favorite renderings from the whole Star Wars trilogy. I didn't do the design that wound up in the film. The final design was better. It was weirder. But my guy was more human, and George liked the silver snow goggles." So yeah. And one of these, with his weird tall hat, he's got these goggles on his head, which, it's so unlike what they went with. But I just love that was one of Ralph's favorite designs, was this weird, like, Ebenezer Scrooge Beezer Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, he looks almost like a gorilla wearing a quackayoodle tribal hat and steampunk glasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see that, Steve? If they'd made that, I would probably be a Bib Fortuna focus collector. Because this awesome, cool high hat is just super wicked.
Yeah, it is very, very, very different from what they went with. So speaking of what they did go with, everyone knows he's got these gross tentacles on his head, and he's kind of got some fancy garb. So the next designer was Nilo Rodos-Romero, and what he had said about Bib was that he's one of those people I consider who aspire to have power, but in reality don't have any. He wears metal on his costume to let people know that he's powerful. And in my drawings, I gave him a refined, feminine posture, and he wears a cloak and some kind of armor. And then Phil Tippett gave him the brain that kind of hangs around. So I guess that's... And he thought the marriage between the two concepts was perfect. And it was also Phil who gave him those weird teeth, like a saw. So that was the second designer's take on Bib Fortuna, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, that's pretty cool, Steve. So you really had this idea of these three people who,
right?
So Macquarie then just totally ignored, and then Nilo Rodello Jamero Badero ended up designing it, and then Phil Tippett just had all these little extra added details.
Right.
It seems like really it was Phil Tippett that made it gross and disgusting, and I hate it.
Yeah, I think that you can blame Phil Tippett, which makes sense when you think about it. With him being the monster creature guy, he's going to try and make it as gross and nasty as he can. So that's kind of where he came from. And another weird, just side note is there is a character in Rogue One that goes by the name Beezer Fortuna, and he's apparently Bib's cousin, who's got a lighter heart.
Wow.
You know that? Have you seen that weird guy? He's a weird Bib Fortuna looking guy.
No, I haven't. But it's been a while.
Yeah.
Steve, I haven't seen Rogue One since it came out in theaters, and I went to go buy it on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
But the day that I went to go buy it, there happened to be a Nintendo Switch in the store, and my daughter found it, and we started playing Zelda, and that was
there went that.
There went that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it again, though. I hear it's good.
Well, hey, next time you can look for Beezer Fortuna. He's in there somewhere.
Ew, he's even grosser.
Yeah, he's somehow grosser.
Yeah, the Fortunas do not have good genetic lines.
No, not good genes.
So we are going to get to Phidias soon. I think maybe what would be fun would be to have my Skye-Ku.
Yes.
It may be a little negative.
I assume that might get a little dark.
A little bit. Okay. This is going to mention what I've already mentioned, and of course it's going to mention the most famous thing about him as far as Star Wars collectors go, which is his cape. So, here is my Skye-Ku from Bib Fortuna. Majordomo cape. Pointy teeth, pond scum, slime face. Bib Fortuna, filth.
Yeah, filth. That's a good descriptor for him.
Yes.
It's if there's a one word, and that's it. Filth.
Yes. I like calling him because you always have to indicate some kind of nature. So referring to him as having pond scum slime face.
Right. Yeah.
I was proud of that. I thought that worked. Worked nicely.
Nice.
Maybe not my best work, Steve, but you know what? How can you do best work with Bib Fortuna?
Right.
Although, I did want to name my band in high school Diggs Fortuna.
Oh.
I just thought that sounded cool.
That's, that would have, who knows what would have happened if you'd done that.
Yeah, we still would have never done anything. All right, Steve. Well, let's see. You have many Bib Fortuna segments. Some of them are with Phidias. Some of them are not with Phidias.
Yeah.
I think what you want to do is talk about something unloved.
Yeah, let's do that.
You don't hate, only the unloved hate. The unloved and the unnatural. The unloved and the unnatural.
All right, Steve. So we're in the Unloved, and we just got a message from Phidias saying he will not be able to record today. So we're going to record everything we can without him.
Yes.
Although I am tempted to call and leave a message for him from Bruce White. So we're gonna save a market watch, which I have created.
Right.
Thank you very much, Steve. You usually do all that stuff. And we'll save kind of like the story of a collector because he's the number one collector of that. But let's talk about this unloved item because obviously everything with Bib Fortuna is unloved because there's nothing lovable about him.
Right. By default, all items are unloved, but it's hard. It's a challenge to find one that is this grotesque, I think.
Okay, so what is it that you've described, Steve?
Okay, so this is a paint by numbers set from Craft Masters. There was a line of these, paint by number, designs where you know, have a picture and you do your little bit by bit, you know, non-creative, they assign the color drawing. But anyway, what this is...
Well, it's kind of... It's interesting. I mean, it's
kind
interesting.
You can... Yeah, it's interesting. I actually did a lot of these when I was a kid. But there's a line of these for Return of the Jedi, and this image is... it's Jabba the Hutt as, like, the main image here. But then right behind his corner is this terrifying depiction of Bib Fortuna, which I think I got this at a celebration years ago just because it scared me this much. But he's got this very Nosferatu look to me. He looks exactly like the old vampire from the silent movies.
Yes.
It's horrifying. He's got these really bright red eyes, and he's got these two Nosferatu fangs like protruding from his mouth.
Right, because he has pointed teeth, but not necessarily fangs.
Not vampire teeth like they are here. So yeah, I just love this image, and I love this kind of strange. He's just in the background, really ominously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I love the artwork on these, and there's other great ones too. I mean, I think there's one of the Rebo Band and maybe Lando Skiff, but this is the one that really stood out to me. So I had been saving this. I'm like, I know when my unloved Bib Fortuna item is going to be in the years ahead, whenever that's going to be. So
wow.
Yeah, I just love this thing.
Yeah, it's some of that great last remnants of original art that you could have in Star Wars.
Right.
And it's nice because there's something about the expressions on their faces. Jabba looks really neutral.
Very neutral. Yeah.
He doesn't even really, because he usually looks kind of happy or like smugly smiling.
Yeah.
But here, not really. And behind him, there's this doorway that has these sort of like flames that looks like almost. It's like the indication of a light hanging out from behind him.
Yeah.
One could almost say it was a halo, although I don't think it necessarily is. Although there's something semi-religious about this iconography. There's something about how forward-looking they are.
Right. Yeah.
But certainly they are. And the Jabba's weird pipe thing, also there definitely was some artist who made this who decided to do something interesting by putting these three figures, the pipe, Jabba, and Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a great like T-shirt. This artwork or just a print on the wall even. And it's also kind of cool. I mean, this set had glow in the dark accents, so you could really make this strange by turning off the lights, I guess.
And so you have this, Steve?
I do. Yeah. It's I picked it up years ago. Yeah, definitely one of my favorites.
Wow, nice. Awesome. Well, I would say that we should go directly into the Nugget, but of course, that's going to be Phidias.
Yes, right.
So we'll have to do other stuff, Steve.
Yes.
The next couple things. Okay, so there's two things about Bib Fortuna. One of them I like, which is about teeth, and the other I don't.
I knew you wouldn't like it.
Which is about capes.
Yes. I'm feeding off of your anxiety and anger.
Yes, you are.
from previous episodes.
So, Steve, let's get to the vintage vocab with Bib capes.
Okay.
All right, let's go. All right, Steve. So let me tell you what I know about Bib Fortuna's capes.
Okay.
There are different color capes for Bib Fortuna.
This is true.
That's it. That's all I know. I don't know what's where. I know people pay thousands of dollars for one and zeros of dollars for the other.
Yeah.
I don't know what the standard one is like tan, kind of gray. Is that right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a tan gray color. And I have to say, like, I had this figure as a kid too, and that was my absolute favorite thing about him was that kind of trench coat cape, because I would use it on all my other figures. And but I would always put it back or have the way it was, but it was just, I don't know, that was, as a kid, like a young kid, that was one of my favorite accessories was that cape.
Okay.
But
so
anyway,
so that's the standard cape.
Right. There's a standard kind of grayish, tannish, almost, that sounds about right, color. Okay.
Great. And that's the end of the episode. Wonderful.
Right. Now, I'll try and keep this brief.
Okay. Now, what are the other colors? How many other colors of cape are there for Bib Fortuna?
There are 3 other colors.
3? Okay.
3.
What are those color names? Give them in one word each.
All right. Red, white, and burgundy.
Red. I mean, burgundy's kind of red.
You're right, and that's where it gets a little difficult to
red,
discern.
White, and burgundy.
Yes.
All right. Got it.
Okay.
So let's go in order. Right?
Okay.
Red, white, and burgundy. Okay. So what is a red cape Bib Fortuna?
All right. So the red cape is, contrary to popular rumor, it was never released as a production figure at all. It was only used in Kenner photography, so it's a prototype piece, and it's on the 77 back card, and I guess in some JCPenney multi-packs. In terms of, there are a lot of, I guess this is the other thing we should say about the capes, is that there are a lot of fakes of them out there over the years. I think many have been created, so it's always kind of rough trying to pick up one of these that's real. So the red one, that's the one that's pre-production Kenner used for photography. That's basically all you need to know about red.
So how many of these are there?
That I'm not sure. I don't think there's very many. It's few.
Okay. Because all right, because have you found where it was for sale?
No.
Okay,
no.
I have. So it was being sold by Brian Rockfall.
Okay.
Rockfall. And he's been a long-time dealer.
Right.
I've never met him. I remember on Rebel Scum, he said something that's one of the funniest things I've ever read in the history of Star Wars collecting. Yeah. So he was selling a boxed Han Hoth 12-inch figure. So a very rare pre-production item. He has tons of really, really, really good stuff. Right. And he was selling it. I think he was selling it for like $10,000 or something that at the time, 13 years ago, was way too high. And people were commenting back and forth. And his quote was, "I suppose the Han Hoth is not for the members of this board." and just the way that he said it was just so funny, because it's just like, clearly this rabble cannot appreciate the amazingness that I'm selling. So he was selling this Bib Fortuna, and this is what he wrote. Call it pre-production, call it a prototype. It would be hard to have an in-depth discussion about rare vintage Star Wars action figures without the infamous Red Cape Bib Fortuna getting a clear mention. Far, far rarer than most rocket fettes, most collectors have never had the opportunity to hold, less own, an authentic specimen. Teased only from a couple card backs and period promotional material, this legendary figure never saw production, and today no genuine examples are known to exist on card, even as samples. There seems to be some competing theories as to exactly how many of these Red Cape Bib Fortunas have been discovered, which is hardly surprising, as figures changing hands over the years can sometimes erroneously skew a census. But at the time of this offering, only an additional 3 examples and 1 hard copy can be accounted for and held tightly in collectors' hands. The distinctive rich red of the cloak, the unique stitching, and almost metallic-looking orange-red lining is a distinct contrast to the burgundy cape figures that Lily Ledy made that did see some limited release in Mexico. So, there you go. So, according to Brian Rockfall, there are at least 4 of these.
Okay. All right.
Which is weird. Why would there be 4?
I don't know.
Okay. So here is a red cape Bib Fortuna that was used for pre-production photography, early images, and catalogs, and back of card backs. And somehow there's a really charming, if you go to the archive and you click on this, there's a really charming, super old thing on the archive, which, by the way, Steve, it's 2018. Do you know what that makes 2019?
Ooh, it's an anniversary of some kind.
Yeah, the archive turns 25.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're going to be celebrating that all next year, Steve. I forgot to tell you that.
I like this. So it's good.
This page must be 25 years old.
Yeah.
It's written by Chris Jorgulius from the description of Gus Lopez. It's got the awesome old marbled archive back. And it's a picture of a faked red cape Bib Fortuna. And this is the thing, okay? All of you new collectors, I know it's hard seeing these people who've been collecting for 25, 30 years talk about stuff and act so high and mighty. So this is great because very clearly Gus and Chris both got hoodwinked on this figure. And the way that this is written is so just like, I can't believe we got tricked. So here's what it says. This is one of the most convincing faked carded figures that have ever reached the secondary market, since it managed to fool several knowledgeable collectors. Ever since a Bib Fortuna with red cape appeared in canon literature, collectors have been claiming these were spotted in package as a production item. To make the situation worse, most of the Star Wars price guides list this as a production item. The reality is that no red cape Bib Fortuna have turned up in production runs. There are a couple of these in Kenner baggies that came from Kenner employees. This particular carded version was formed by opening a carded Bib Fortuna and resealing the bubble. Although the picture doesn't convey it, upon close examination, it is astonishing how well this was carried out. It is surprisingly easy to create a fake carded figure, much to my dismay. Chris R.G. Jorgulius. So, yeah. Anyways, it's just fun. Everybody gets fooled. If you feel like, oh man, there's so many fakes now, collecting just isn't any good.
This has been a a long time brewing.
Yeah, but I think that's some pretty good information about where those other ones might have come from.
Yeah, no, that's great. And
you know, I did this much work today, Steve. Did you?
Hey, you're packing it in. This is good.
I am. I sort of didn't really talk to Steve before we started recording. I actually started working on a video that I'm making about Kanye, and I stopped my video essay about Kanye and said, no, I need to think about what's more important, which is today's episode. So,
that's a busy day. Yeah,
it is. Every day's busy with me, Steve. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the red cape.
The next color. Okay.
Okay. So the red cape. There has been one for sale in the last year.
Okay.
They only exist in as prototypes. And they have fooled both Gus and Chris. Okay. Now, what is a white cape?
So this is a similar case where these were never produced, but it's the same cape, but just in a white cloth color. And with this one, some of these have turned up actually as like carded samples. So this one example that we have from the archive, it's on a Walrus Man 47 back. And it's got the figure looks pretty much the same, but it has the white cape, and it was a hand applied bubble. And I think Ron wrote this entry, and he makes a good point about having to kind of just test to make sure that the bubbles can hold this figure with this kind of bulky cloak. So with the white ones, it looks like some made it onto these Walrus Man cards as kind of just carded sample and testing the construction of the bubble itself. So the white, I don't know, I didn't dig too deep in terms of numbers on that, but according to this other entry, though, the white might actually be rarer than the red, which that's interesting. I'm not sure. Maybe that's changed since this was written, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, once again, Brian Rockfall comes to the rescue.
Aha, there we go.
So he had these, these were for sale. He had a red cape bib and a white cape bib at Celebration, whatever the last celebration was. Anaheim?
Yeah. The one in Orlando?
I don't remember. I don't remember anything, Steve. But stay tuned to next month because we'll be talking about the archive party and when it's coming out.
Yes.
Okay, so he was selling a white cape Bib Fortuna. What do you think he was selling it for, Steve?
At Celebration? I'm just going to throw out $11,000.
He was selling it for $38,000.
Oh!
I don't know if he sold it or not.
Oh my!
But this is his listing on eBay because it was on eBay as well.
Oh yeah. Okay.
This amazing specimen is one of only 3 known to exist on card, all found late 1990s, along with 2 or 3 loose figures attributed to cut card or bagged examples. Such MOC specimens are believed by some in the hobby to be best described as, quote, engineering pilots, as they most likely would have been created for a specific purpose by a Kenner engineer to better evaluate the evolution of the toy and packaging pre-market. At present, only 2 of the 3 card examples have been submitted for grading, and the third exists in relatively poor state with heavily creased card and lifting blister. And he once again mentions that it's much more rare than a Rocket Fett, which is true, except it's nasty, stupid, ugly Bib Fortuna and not a Boba Fett. I would rather own a loose Boba Fett, like missing an arm, than this prototype.
Positivity, Skye. Positivity.
I mean, I would love this. Do you know why I love this, Steve? Because this is Bib Fortuna with Walrus Man. Now, Walrus Man arguably can be considered the true predecessor to Bib Fortuna because he was really ugly. He has testicular face problems. You can even imagine that the testes on the front of his face like expanded and grew over time, and he just became Bib Fortuna.
Oh man,
they are very similar in their low-lifeness.
Yes, that's true. They share that.
Okay, so then the white cape we are saying is just a carded sample, and they were trying to figure out the material for the cape.
Right. And then there was a couple of other, I guess, bagged examples too. But yeah, that one is the only one I think in terms of the weird capes like this that are on cards. So yeah, that's white. So we got 2 down.
Okay, red, white, and burgundy. Blue, red, yellow. Okay.
All right. So, and you alluded to this in your little excerpt from Brian, but so the burgundy cape, which it's just, I don't know, it just makes me laugh.
I'm Bib Burgundy.
Yeah, right. So that cape was actually, produced in some small quantity on the Lily Letty line. So there's some Lily Letty produced Bib Fortunas that have a burgundy caped or burgundy colored cape. And it's weird because, some of these images, like there's an old one on the archive that it really does look like a burgundy kind of like almost like a velvet robe that he's wearing. But then some of the more recent pictures of these, it almost looks like they've kind of degraded a bit, and it gets to be looking more brown than burgundy. But that's, I guess initially it was, a burgundy colored cape that was released in Mexico.
Okay. So why?
Good question. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe it has something to do with the representation of the red on that early promotional imagery, and they were trying to go with something along those lines. That'd be my best guess, and maybe they switched over fully to the kind of brownish gray once that was kind of set, as the main color of the figure. I don't know, but
okay,
it's strange.
I accept that. I accept that as being the correct answer.
But maybe a possible answer.
But not all Lily Letty Bib Fortunas had the burgundy cape.
No. So they also had, a more similar to the U.S. production version, kind of brownish gray. And if you wanted to get into the variants, I guess there are a couple of different shades. But I with that, I kind of just split it between the burgundy and the non-burgundy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yes, and actually,
hey, you survived that segment. Yeah.
I did. You included a link to the SW Space Club, which is run by W. Boba Fett, which has a lot of good pictures of all these variations.
Yes.
And actually, the mightyjabba.com is a site that you linked to for the Paint by Numbers kit. Those are both really good sites that I haven't spent a lot of time on. Yeah,
no, they're both. I love the Mighty Jabba one because I love all the Jabba Palace characters, and it's mainly Jabba focused, but there's some great stuff on there.
Who runs that?
That's a good question.
I was looking around. I was trying to find it, and everything is like super cute. And like, I'm Jabba, and I'm running this whole thing. And I'm like, all right, great, but what's your actual name?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I've been to that site many times over the years, but yeah, I'm not sure who actually runs it.
Okay, well, if you're the one who runs it, let us know, and we'll interview you for a Jabba segment, right?
That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because we need a Jabba segment. I mean,
We were gonna have to. Yeah.
I mean, Matthew Mathieu Barthélemy.
Yes.
We did interview him about something Jabba related, but then that was the episode that got lost to my computer a long time ago when we interviewed Matthias and Mathieu.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, we made it through the red, white, and burgundy. Good
Yes.
job, Steve. I didn't hate it. I feel like I learned something.
That's good. That's good.
And do I care? That's the question. Is it more interesting? Well, let me see if I have any belly button lint, first of all. I don't have any. So I will say it's more interesting than belly button lint. And you got to ask yourself, audience, am I actually picking at my belly button? You know the answer. It's too horrible to confront. All right. So then, Steve, before we wrap it up and get to Phidias tomorrow, I suppose, we should talk about the dental hygiene segment.
Yeah.
This is great, Steve. I love this.
I thought you might enjoy it. And it's just one of those great ironies that this character that has the most awful teeth in all of Star Wars has two interesting dental products related to him. Which one did you want to talk about first? The Oral-B promotion?
No, let's talk about Colgate.
Okay. That's yeah. Well, hey, what about your Grail scale here for the Colgate?
Yes. That's it's a virtual Grail, right? There's very few of these out here.
Just one. As far as I could tell, there's only one confirmed example.
All right, well, let's not get too cute. Let's describe what we're talking about, Steve.
Yes. So we have a Colgate toothpaste box that has, it's a red box with a little bit of an extension on the top with a bubble, like a plastic opening, that has a Bib Fortuna action figure stuffed in there like it would be a toothbrush.
Yes.
And these are from Spain, right? So it was a promotion when Jedi was released in Spain, I think in '84. And it's there are, I guess, there's a Biker Scout also pictured in some publication that's in a similar box. But in terms of examples that are known in the flesh and know where they are, there's this one Bib Fortuna, and it's in Sansweet's collection at Rancho Obi-Wan.
Right, so it's basically the only example known of any figure in a Colgate box.
Right, with a tube of toothpaste.
Right. And there's so many things. Okay, so if we look at this box, because we're never going to talk about this box again, Steve. So let's just
probably not.
Let's just get into it. Okay. First of all, it says gratis una figura de El Retorno del Jedi.
There it is. It's been a while since.
Yes, and of course they say in Spain Retorno, and they say Regreso in South America.
Right.
And then underneath it they say Ay 70 figuras diferentes coleccionadas. So it says they have 70 figures to collect.
Right.
So that's pretty cool because that puts it very much in the Tri-Logo era, right?
Yeah.
Because on the back of the Tri-Logo, they had 70 possible figures.
Right.
So that makes sense. It says here, Bifluor doble protección. So they say what kind of toothpaste it is. Previene las caries antes de que les aparezca. So it prevents cavities before they appear.
Right.
Gel frescor suave. So you got suave on there.
Frescor suave. Yeah, I like that.
So there's that. So that's the front of the box. And on the side of the box, it says gratis una figura de Star Wars again. But it's the back of the box, Steve, that makes you dream.
Yes, absolutely.
It's the back of the box that haunts you. And as a Focus collector, I looked at it and just said, please, dear God, because there's pictures of all these different figures. And I just said, please, dear God, may there not be a picture of Chewbacca on here.
Well, I think you're kind of in trouble there.
Yes, because there is a picture of Chewbacca. So in theory, every single one of these figures that is on the back is in some version of Colgate toothpaste.
Or was at one point in history.
Was at one point in history. So
Yeah.
I will read off the characters right now. Emperor's Royal Guard, Logray, Stormtrooper, Weequay, Imperial Commander, Boosh, Bespin Security Guard, Darth Vader, this is Squidhead, he's from Star Wars, Rebel Commando, Luke Jedi, Klaatu, Reese, Bib Fortuna, AT-AT Commander, and Chewbacca.
Last but not least.
Yeah. So that was what, 16?
Yeah, that's a good number. I mean, well, wait, you know what's strange?
Biker Scout's
There's
not on
the
there.
Biker Scout's not on there. Huh. Weird.
Yeah.
Very weird. That just makes a whole mess of things.
So yeah, this Steve, okay, this I would rather own. Okay, here's a question. Would you rather own the mock-up Bib Fortuna white cape or this Colgate Bib Fortuna?
I got to go with the Colgate. It's
Okay.
just so bizarre.
Okay, would you rather own Phidias's hard copy, complete hard copy, or this Colgate?
That's tougher. I don't know. I think at that point, I have to go with the hard copy. That's probably where we're gonna diverge, isn't it?
Yeah, no. I mean, to me, it gets to like the sculpt, and I would probably rather have the sculpt or the photo art than this.
Yeah.
But this thing is a grail on just a different level because it's the only known representation of an entire toy line.
Yeah. No, it is something. I mean, it is awesome. Have you ever? I think he actually had it on display at a couple of celebrations. Have you ever seen it in person?
Maybe, but I
Yeah.
haven't spent this much time thinking about it. Now, there's also Star Wars Spanish Stuff.info.
Yes, another great site.
This is another great site, and they've written a lot about this. So
Yeah.
I am going to translate this in real time, what they wrote up about it. So they say it's from 1984, and it says that Colgate let out a pack that included a Star Wars figure in 1984.
Right.
They said that it lasted until 1985,
Okay.
and that there are some sellers who can agree with this. There's some testimonials for Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars figures.
Right.
And there's maybe seen them with yak face.
Mm-hmm. I do like getting back to the Grail conversation.
Muchos consideran esta pieza como el santo grial del coleccionismo español. So in Spanish, they call it the Holy Grail.
El Santo Grial. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. So this is a gem for sure.
So it's only through hearsay that there's a chance that there's anything else other than this
Right.
Bib Fortuna in
Right.
that entire run.
Yeah.
Wow. So that must be it as far as Bib Fortuna and teeth stuff goes. I mean, what are the odds of there being more Bib Fortuna teeth-related materials?
Oh, if you were, being logical, you think that it, but no, there's more.
Okay.
So there was this promotion through Oral-B and in the States for Jedi. So in 1983, they had a set of Return of the Jedi themed materials that dentists would have to send out to their patients. So included in that were these little appointment reminder postcards, and one of them
I've never even heard of these.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Well,
I mean,
you
my
know the
trademark is
toothbrushes,
stupidity.
but
Yeah, I know the toothbrushes. I even have I have the 3-pack of the toothbrushes. It's something I really like.
And I think we've talked about the amazing dental health adventure book at some point.
Yes, we have
in the past. But this is kind of another element to all that is these dental checkup postcards. So there's a set. It looks like I think there's 6 of them. They're all Jedi related. Most of them are pretty common promotional images. One of them though has kind of a similar representation as the paint by numbers set, where it's got Jabba and Bib Fortuna over his shoulder with his little weird bong thing in the front.
Yeah.
So it's a dental checkup reminder postcard, and on the back, let's see, I think they all have their own little captions. It's nothing. Nothing too spectacular, but
it is because
actually, here we go. Yeah.
Okay, so the picture is great because I don't recognize it from being any other promotional image. It's the point where, Bib gets really excited. That's one thing I also like about Bib is he gets really excited. He sits there and he has two modes. He has like grimace and growl, and then he has like let's go. And so he's excitedly whispering into Jabba's ear, and on the back it describes the scene. Jabba the Hutt confers with his Majordomo, Bib Fortuna, in his Tatooine palace.
There's that Majordomo again.
So these little kids are sitting here and like, okay, I have to get my teeth fixed. What's a Majordomo?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the exact thought I had. It's like, that must have been probably for a lot of kids their first exposure to that word. And it's just really funny to me that it's so prevalent with all of his representation. It's great. It says it's time for a dental checkup, and there's a special Star Wars Return of the Jedi surprise waiting for, and it's got the blank for Timmy or whoever. But so you'd get a new Oral-B Star Wars toothbrush, a membership in the Star Wars Plaque Fighter Club, and and then you get the dental health adventure book. So these are awesome. I need to get one of these. Tessa got me the dental health book a while back, and I think I need to pair it with this.
Yes, absolutely. Wow, Steve. All right. Well, listen. Maybe it's moved a little bit on the hatred of Bib Fortuna. So this is what I'm going to do. We're gonna call Phidias. We'll take a break now in the show. I'll put a little bit of music in here. When we come back, we'll be talking to Phidias Barrios about one of the most definitive character-focused collector runs in all of Star Wars collecting. And we'll be talking to him about his nuggets, and we'll be talking about all these things and all of his grails, and then we'll finish up the show. But for now, I'm just going to we're gonna sign off for now. I'm gonna think about Bib Fortuna and learn to love.
Good. I got one other reason to love him for you.
Oh, okay. What's that, Steve?
Okay. So, did you know that he is voiced by the same voice actor of Akbar?
Tim Rose?
No. The voice, not the performer, but the actual dubbed voice. The guy's name is not. But yeah, they're the same. So next time you watch Jedi,
that checks out.
Yeah.
Maybe we should make Newana Wanga more of a thing.
It's
I mean, Ne Jabba no Badda is also another thing I really like too. Ne Jabba no Badda.
He says some weird things to R2 as well that just it gets really creepy, really creepy.
Yeah, the bad lip reading makes Jabba the Hutt. I mean, makes Bib Fortuna way better. Have you seen that, Steve?
I haven't. No, I'll have to do that.
Are you serious, Steve?
I haven't. No.
Okay, we'll do that like immediately right now because he's got Bill Hader doing a voice like, "Oh, what you got going here?" And he's like all creepy, like, and R2-D2's voice is like, "Please stop touching me, creepy man." And then when he like makes that weird move to like leave, and he does that huge
that
arm,
gesture,
gesture, it just goes, "Let's dance." It's so funny.
Right.
Bad lip reading, Return of the Jedi, Steve. You do that.
Right.
I'll go find my Bib Fortuna figure, and we'll meet tomorrow with Phidias.
That sounds good.
I don't even know where to go in this place. It's
So what y'all want?
Well, hello to you too, creepy McNightmare.
Say what now?
We have a message for that big slug guy thing.
Dude,
what?
that is so rude.
No, it's a perfectly good description of his body.
You stop now, little buddy. Dang, this is sharp right here.
Please do not touch me. Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
He kind of has this thing about horrifying creatures touching him.
Let's dance!
All right, Steve. Well, it's a couple days later. How you doing?
All right, doing okay. Yeah.
I just so I don't think I've really talked about it on the show, but I've started doing a music review show.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're friends with me on Facebook, maybe you know, but I do a a new music review show. So 3 times a week I review like new music. It's called Skye Sweaty Record Review. So if you like I do it right after I go to the gym. So if you like me and the way that I talk about things, well, why don't you hear me talk about music for a couple times a week? It's funny because I just got finished, Steve. My year end, the artist of the year was Kanye. And I just did a year end retrospective. And dude, I just talked 35 straight minutes off the top of my head about Kanye. So,
well, your mind is in the right place.
So if that sounds good to you, you can check it out. But I think for most people, who knows? The show's usually not about Kanye, but I did talk about George Lucas a lot in that episode too.
Ah, there you go.
Because I think they're very similar characters in the way that they put their own vision ahead of the expectations of their audience, which is what a true artist does, Steve.
Yes.
I didn't quite bring up Last Jedi. I came close, but I didn't. So
okay. Well, hey, that'll appease some people then.
Yes. So I'm in quite the mood. I just realized I should probably pitch that at some point. Should probably mention it. It's a fun side project.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Steve?
I think it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Come on.
I've been editing the show, and I edited out a lot of my nonsense, but I'll leave that in. But speaking of nonsense, it is now time to talk to the world's biggest Bib Fortuna collector.
Yeah. Do you know what Phidias' collection's name is? I know you like collection names.
I do. What is it named?
La Biblioteca.
La Biblioteca. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But he's been very hard to get a hold of. We were supposed to record with him yesterday before yesterday. Supposed to record him yesterday.
Yeah.
He's being quite tricky.
Let's dance! Let's dance! Let's dance!
Okay, well, Steve and I, after much ado, are finally here with Phidias Barrios. How's it going, Phidias?
Good. How are you guys? Hope you're...
Yeah, we're doing great. We're talking about the worst character in Star Wars, Bib Fortuna. But I like you, Phidias, so I'm a little bit conflicted here. And it does appear that you have an amazing run of Bib Fortuna stuff. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a new article that you wrote for the archive. But before we get to that, I'm going to tease that. We're going to take through, how did you get such a crazy, insane collection of Bib Fortuna prototypes, and what is it that you have? So let's start here, Steve. What do you think? What's your guess, Steve? What's the furthest back that Phidias' collection goes on the Bib Fortuna figure?
On the figure itself?
Yes.
It's got to go back to the beginning, right?
Okay, how far back does it go, Phidias? What's the oldest piece you have in your collection?
I guess probably the wax piece.
Okay.
That I got from Chris G. Not many years ago. I don't know, 2006, 2007. I think that's when I worked out a deal with him for that.
Okay, so
that's the original sculpt, right? Not a cast.
It might be. Looking at it, I don't know. Maybe the torso and the legs might be cast, and then the arms. And then the limbs and the head might be sculpt pieces.
Okay.
You can whatever it was that they were just able to save. Back in the day.
Okay, and what colors? This is the kind of tan colored, because you sent me a bunch of pictures, and I don't even like looking at them. It's like looking at surgery photos. It's so gross.
I guess most of the wax pieces are kind of maybe either pinkish or maybe light beige or kind of peachy, that kind of a shade. Yeah, because this is just disembodied and horrible. So I see you have them separated here. So you have the arms and the head, and then you have them separated. So, Steve, what's the difference between a wax sculpt and a wax cast?
Well, so the sculpt is the original art, sculpted by the sculptor, and then they would often create wax casts for, if they're reworking a sculpt or for various other purposes, but they would have additional pieces from the molds that were cast in wax. So there's some other secondary stage wax pieces out there for a number of figures, but sometimes it is like Phidias is saying, it can be kind of difficult to suss out what what is what. But,
right. So the wax casting would be like 3 or 4 steps later than the wax mold, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it can be kind of, I think, it's kind of in flux depending on what they're doing with the figure. If the figure's design changes at all, they might take a cast of the original and add to it, or tweak it in some way. But yeah, it's kind of a fuzzy area. But it's interesting and important nonetheless.
Right. I'm just trying to explain it for our audience. Me, who sort of gets it, but not entirely. Okay, so so then they would make the wax sculpt, and then they would make a mold from that sculpt, right? Mm-hmm. And so the wax casts would be made from that mold, right?
That's how I understand it. That's right, Phidias.
Yeah, and depending on the sculptor too, whoever's working on it, each person had different methods of how they did their work. So it would depend. Yeah.
Right,
and
because wax
crazy sculpt too with those tentacles too. It's really it's crazy when you think of it as just the head as an individual piece. It's pretty nuts in terms of a Star Wars figure.
Yeah, and it's really clear too that he has this like rope belt, which is funny because in the description of how the character was created, it talks about how he tries to look wealthy and have all this armor and stuff. And then he just looks like a Franciscan monk with like a little rope belt. Okay, so then the cast would be made, and maybe they would make alterations to that, and then make a new mold potentially. Is that right?
Yeah,
I think potentially. Yeah, right.
Okay, and so we just don't know. So what you have is an entire wax figure, Phidias, but it does, like the arms and the head look different from the torso and the legs. So maybe they're different.
I mean, and you can definitely you can tell from the shade of the color too. Like the torso and legs are like kind of brighter, a brighter shade of pink. The arms and the head are darker, and you can if you hold it in your hand too, you can kind of feel the difference. Like the arms and the head feel a little bit more have a different feel to it than the legs and torso.
Okay. All right. So that is you're not going to get much better than that. Now, would you trade that for a Colgate Bib Fortuna?
Wow, that's actually a really interesting question. I know they're both just as rare in my opinion. But, I'd probably just stick with the wax.
Okay. I did not expect the answer to be so close. Okay. Now, do you also have the photo art?
No. It's in France. Like a lot of other things.
Because wait a minute, does anybody have the original sculpt and the photo art of any character?
Huh.
Doesn't no. Well, let's see.
That's a good question. Yeah, there's someone must.
Yeah.
Because most people who would have a sculpt would not care enough about the art to have it. And most people who would care about the art were too late to get in the sculpts. Okay, so Phidias, that's your job. You have to get the photo art for Bib Fortuna, okay? Just make it happen. Just like trade a week away or something.
That's almost impossible. That's almost impossible.
All right, well, you can do it. Okay, so then that's a pretty good place to start, Steve, with the wax. Everything from here is going to be a disappointment. Do you see how I set it up so it gets most interesting to least? Okay, so then what's the next phase that you have in the production of the Bib Fortuna figure that I hated so much at the Ben Franklin in Cushing Square?
Then the unpainted hardcopy. There should be, I think there's a pic of that there.
And that's basically green,
that was also
right?
that was also from Chris. It's a Dynacast hardcopy. It's complete, has all the limbs and torso and head. And I don't know if it's all from the same pour. That's always an interesting question. You never know. Right. But it looks to be. It looks to be because all the color, the shade of green for all the pieces all match.
It's pretty
consistent. Because sometimes when they're different pours, even if it's still all Dynacast, sometimes the shades will be different. Like it might be a lighter green or a darker green or whatever. So that piece looks like it's all from the same pour, which is pretty cool. And
now wait a minute though, his pants have changed. He changed his pants. Look at the pants on the hard copy versus the sculpt.
Yeah.
I mean the sculpt.
Yeah, there's definitely differences because this is where some of that variation information comes in pretty handy, because there's a Hong Kong bib, there's a Taiwan bib, and those different, like from different countries, and there's different variations with the sculpts. Like I'm not sure which one it is, but like the Hong Kong bib has a different a different kind of rope and belt compared to a Taiwan or compared to a Macau. There's like different little sculpting variances. So things could have changed. Like when those hard copies got sent to wherever, like either Hong Kong or Taiwan, sometimes they might have tweaked the steel mold,
right?
Like especially with the belt area, like they might have for whatever reason, I don't know why they would have done it, but they do little tweaks to the steel molds before they start production.
Wow.
Or sometimes in the middle of it too, like maybe in mid-production they might tweak the mold. So
okay, so you have the green Dynacast hard copy, which is a pretty special and unique thing. I mean, I believe there's a pair of hard copy arms that Brock is selling for $5,000 right now of a character.
The prune face.
Yes, a prune face.
Prune face.
So that definitely that's gone up a fair amount. Okay, and then what's the next thing that you have, Phidias?
Painted hardcopy.
Okay, now why are there painted hard copies and unpainted hard copies? I actually know this, but I'm still asking just because it's good for the audience. I'm thinking of the public.
You mean why is it called painted? Because it's painted?
No, not that. I think our audience isn't that stupid.
Is that why?
Yeah, except for you listening right now, you're that stupid. But everyone else knew that. Yeah, your shirt's untucked. It's okay. No one can notice. You picked your nose. Why were there unpainted and painted hard copies?
Oh well, for painted, like primarily, I would say for marketing. Like when they have to take photos of the figure to promote it before they release it, like in the catalogs and like what Kim Simmons would do, right? Or taking pictures of the figures for the card backs.
Right.
Maybe you would have to do that before the release of the figures, and I guess maybe sometimes all they had available were the prototype versions still.
Right.
And then you'd have to paint them to be able to take pictures of them. And what other purposes besides marketing? Maybe just a quality control.
Right. Yeah. Just to see how it looks. Awesome.
Just determining the paint scheme. Yeah.
Right. And so they went with ugly blue. That was good. Ugly blue for his stupid face. All right. Before we get to the Protomold, because I was looking at the wrong picture. So the painted hard copy, what's fun is that in that picture you've provided, you can see that they didn't paint the inside of the legs. So you can see the green of the Dynacast. And I guess that's a hard copy cape as well? Or I mean like a pre-production cape. Why is that not white or red?
The accessories with that, the cape is definitely different. It's kind of thinner compared to the production ones, and that plastic breastplate is also that's not production either. If you actually inspect it really closely, but those are just the accessories, and that might be. I think Derby told me he's pretty sure that hard copy is the one that's photographed on the 65 back.
So those accessories have been with it this whole time. They come as a package.
And then there's the Protomold. Steve, how many times have you told me what a Protomold is, and how much do I still not know?
Well, I'd say we've talked about it a little bit over the years, but it's been a while, so it's okay to get a refresher.
I swear, Ron has sat me down. I'm like Homer Simpson with the ring toss game. Ron has told me over and over again exactly what it is. I just look and I just nod my head, and this is a ring toss game.
I hate to interrupt your fun, boys,
but I got a few complaints that your game is crooked.
And how?
Gee, I'd hate to close you down. Maybe we can reach a little, understanding here.
I understand.
Hey, Dad, I think he wants...
Not right now, son. Daddy's talking to a policeman.
Let me put it this way. I'm looking for my friend Bill. Have you seen any Bills around here?
No. He's Bart.
Listen carefully and watch me wink as I speak, okay?
Okay.
The guy I'm really looking for, wink, is Mr. Bribe, wink, wink.
It's a ring toss game.
That's it. I'm shutting this game down.
All right, one more time. Let's help Skye understand what a protomold is. I will let either one of you do it. I also found a banana, so I'm going to be eating a banana while you tell me about what a protomold is. My favorite thing to do in the world.
Do you want to take this, Phidias, or you want me to give it a try, or?
Well, protomolds. Well, okay, I'm not reading anything, but the main difference with protomolds was that they were done at Kenner, right, Steve? They were done at Kenner, and they were cast with aluminum molds, not steel molds, which is why they tend to look rougher, like not as finished or not as refined as like as a hard copy or even a production figure.
Right.
And one of the other telltale signs of a figure that's a protomold is that normally their head is removable, right? It's pinned.
Right.
So you can pull off the head, but I don't know I don't know the reason for this though. But the arms and the legs tend to not be pegged. They're like
they're more fixed, right?
They're fixed in. Yeah. So compared to like not like hard copies.
Right.
And they're kind of like, I don't know, they're kind of like, they're not earlier versions of hard copies, but they're definitely just as rare, if not rarer sometimes.
What I understood is that these aluminum molds were less expensive to make, and they can make them in house, so they could produce these. And these are like a white plastic.
That's right, and they're white plastic.
Yeah. So instead of the urethane, they're made of a white kind of milky plastic material, and they would paint these. And I think they would serve a similar purpose in some cases as the painted hardcopy, where they'd be painted and they'd have a lot of them would have accessories and stuff, and they could be used for photography and whatnot. But I think it was basically kind of a less costly method of producing a figure that looked, at least aesthetically, kind of like what the production figure would look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So it's like a cheaper hard copy.
Yeah, in a way.
Okay, that's all I had to say. All right, moving along then. I did take a selfie of myself eating a banana while listening to you guys, so that'll be on the enhanced version. You're welcome, world. Okay, so then the next thing that you have, the next picture you sent us, Phidias, is just absurd, because it's like a whole bunch of pictures. Now, first of all of your pictures of Bib Fortuna have this like weird like fuzz at the edge, and I was trying to figure out what it was. It looks like it's like scum or coffee or some kind of weird creeping death. But then I see that
I had to take I put the figures on one of my son's like storybooks. That's like a fox, and it's a picture of a fox.
Or like a rabbit or something. So it says here, who is hiding in Rabbit's burrow or something like that. But
this is the picture that reveals the identity of the creepy stain. It's who is hiding in Rabbit something.
Yeah, who is hiding in Rabbit? Okay, so that's the deepest Kivecast cut you could possibly have. What is the book that Phidias creeps Skye out with his Bib Fortuna protos? Okay, first of all, let me point out that we don't need to talk about the bagged sign sample, because we talked about that very recently with Brock about that find, and we talked about those. So we can get that out of the way.
Right.
Well, let's talk on the top row there's all of these weird Bib Fortunas, and I want to talk about them for a long time, so I want you to describe them in 2 sentences or less. We are going to start with a white Bib Fortuna whose robes are entirely white. What is up with that?
That is a kit bashed figure. It's a bib head on a squid head body, and a white.
That's going to take more than 2 sentences.
White plastic. Is that 3 sentences? I think that was 3.
Oh my God!
Maybe that was 3.
So why did they make this, Steve? This is going to take forever.
My question is why? Why?
Kit bash. You know, in my opinion, kit bash figures are. You just have to. If you're going to get a kit bash figure, you better just make sure you know which Kenner employee you got it from, and all you pretty much can say is you got it from that employee. That's it, because that's boiling and pop. Kit bashing is basically like, for the most part, is boiling and popping, right? You're just boiling the figure, you're popping out the head or the limbs, and then anyone can basically do it. So provenance is really just the main thing with those kit bash figures.
Yeah.
And that bib, I got it from Derby, and Derby is pretty reputable, right? So
yeah,
I just got it from him, and he got it directly from a Kenner guy.
Well, and the staff is
the staff is what makes that piece. I wouldn't have gotten that figure if it didn't have the staff.
Right, because it's a kind of a translucent white staff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes it cool.
Is there a name for his staff?
Anyone can basically.
I don't know.
No, not as far as I know. That's a good question. Not as far as I know.
All right. Well, why don't we call it his Phidias? Okay, we've officially named it his Phidias. Okay, all right. So that's a mysterious and weird and fun item. Next to it is a pink-legged and pink-armed Bib Fortuna. Ooh-wee, what up with that?
That's pretty much a standard first shot figure. It's a first shot. It's not. It doesn't have any date stamps or country of origin on the back of the leg, and it's just shot in a different colored plastic.
Okay.
Right. And yep.
All right. So that's your boring first shot. And then there's 3 horrible Bib Fortuna heads. I don't even want to talk about them. They gross me out. Okay. In 3 words or less. Okay. The white one. What's up with that?
White one is that's actually rubber. That's actually pretty interesting. It's not made out of plastic.
Oh yeah.
Why do you have so much interesting stuff, Phidias?
Yeah, that's when I got. That's another Chris G piece, and apparently, from what Chris G told me, was that Kenner was kind of toying with the idea of making his head rubber because of because those tentacles were pretty, like, I guess they would have been hard to mold or hard to sculpt or whatever. So they were toying with the idea of just making his head rubber, so those tentacles can just kind of like move around,
flop around.
But they never. But I guess they never went through with that idea. And then the other 2 heads are just first shot heads in different colors. Like, one's black, and I think the other one is kind of pink or something, or kind of brown.
Pinkish, yeah.
Okay. Hey, Steve.
Yep.
Did you hear what happened right in there?
No.
The most interesting thing on the show was just said, that they were going to do his head in rubber. That's like really interesting. That makes Bib Fortuna way more of an interesting character, because now I'm looking at his tentacles and seeing the way they wrap around his body, and that must have really been a lot of effort and cost for Kenner to do, and it makes sense that they would have tried to do something else. That makes me sort of like Bib Fortuna a little bit right now. Oh my God. That's
you go.
Because imagine if it was rubber, right? I mean, when did they ever use rubber? On a 3 3/4 figure, at least. Never, right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is the Dianoga. He's kind of rubbery, isn't he?
I think he's still plastic.
He's still plastic, but it's a little more pliable. But that's the only thing that comes to mind. But yeah, that would have been kind of a trip.
Yeah, well, this is great. Hey, you know how I feel like Ace Ventura in the Bat Cave. That's how I feel with all this Bib Fortuna stuff. Just get it off me. Okay. Well then, thank you so much for that tour through this insane pre-production. I am now going to be testing you and Steve in a rare Skye LED market watch.
Oh no.
Okay. $1 Vlix market watch. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a few figures, and you're going to have to tell me what did it sell for. Okay?
Oh boy.
All right.
Man.
So.
All right, I've got my pen and paper here.
Up first is a carded Lily Letty Bib Fortuna that is off of its bubble. Okay? So it's completely detached. The bubble is not attached at all. And it is a brown cape, not a burgundy cape. It's in fairly good condition, but it's not graded. Okay? You have your votes in?
Hang on, let me think. Let me put it in my head.
I've written something down. It's probably nowhere close.
Okay, I have something.
Okay. All right. What do you say, Steve?
I put down 3,800.
Okay. What did you say, Phidias?
I had a 6,000 in my head.
Okay. Well, no, it's a discount, guys. Only $1,300.
Oh man,
1,300.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Point for Steve. 1-0. Would you have bought that, Phidias?
There's so many. The thing about that figure on eBay, there's so many of them, and they're like, God knows how many of them are fake.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Well, there's a couple burgundy cape that are best offer accepted, and they seem to go below $2,000 for the burgundy cape.
There's surprisingly so many of those on there. That's why it's so. Anyway.
Okay.
It's hard
Now up next is a question of what sold for more. So it's different. It's just an up or down.
Okay.
Lily Letty 30 back card back, just the card back, or a Lily Letty burgundy cape loose in okay condition, ungraded.
Oh boy.
I would say the card back sold for more.
Okay.
I was gonna guess that too, just because I don't know. It just seems crazy, but yeah.
Yes,
I would have gone card back.
You're both correct. The card back sold for $850, and the loose thing sold for best offer somewhere under $800.
Huh.
Point for Steve and Phidias. Score: Steve 2, Phidias 1. So that's why is the card back going for so much? I guess maybe it's part of the CAS revolution of where you can display, you can get things graded when they didn't go together. And so if you have if you put $1,500 into this effort, you could have what looks like a carded burgundy cape Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, I mean, if you search on eBay for a while, you'll notice that you'll see more of those burgundy bibs than loose card backs.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense, I guess.
Now, do you have a burgundy cape, Phidias?
Yeah, I have one of those.
Do you have a carded?
I have one of those.
Okay.
Yep.
I just didn't know if that was beneath you. Do you have do you have a white cape?
Yeah, I have one of those.
Carded as well?
Yeah, I have a carded one and a loose one.
No, and a loose one. Okay. Wow. So there's nothing. Okay. So you'll get any just common trash. That's really good to know. But the question is, and this is the end of the market watch. It is most definitely not the end.
Your trademark is stupidity.
You're just gonna have to guess what the price is for an ungraded Clear Bubble 65 back debut Bib Fortuna.
Oh, okay.
Which Bib you?
No, just Bib Fortuna, just the standard Kenner 65 back. It's in good condition.
Back. Okay.
It has a clear bubble and a Toys R Us sticker on it.
Clear bubble's pretty rare. Yeah.
I put a number down. I have no idea where these things are going these days,
okay.
but
I've
got one.
I have one too.
Okay, what do you say, Phidias?
$200.
Okay, what did you say, Steve?
Right. I put $275.
$199.
Wow.
Phidias
right
is on fire.
Almost.
Point, Phidias. It is now tied 2-2. Brawlers. Wait, okay, then we need a tiebreaker. Okay, one last tiebreaker. The coin, the Majordomo coin. In fair condition, not graded. What did it sell for? Okay. How about you, Steve?
I put $650.
Okay. Phidias?
He's one of the rare ones.
Phidias?
Ooh. Okay. 140.
Oh my God, 150. Game. Phidias, 3-2. Nice.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody sell your Bib Fortuna coins to Steve for $500. You'll feel like you're doing him a deal.
That's pretty rough.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's one last one that's super fun, and that's tied into the best thing I got all year. There's a 65 back Canadian Bib Fortuna. So that's got the Nien Nub offer in French and in English. Now, do you already have one of these, Phidias?
That it's I'm glad you brought that up. That's a very underrated, rare foreign card because
Yes.
I got mine maybe 10 years ago, and I got one carded, and I've hardly ever seen them come up on eBay after that. They don't show up that often.
No, they really don't.
But
I am waiting for one in the mail for Chewbacca right now, and I'm so excited. I'm like over the moon with excitement. So this is basically dead mint. This is a dead mint 65 back Canadian Bib Fortuna with the double language offer.
And is it graded or ungraded?
Ungraded.
Ungraded.
Ungraded. I'll say 450.
All right, Steve.
I had 375.
$135. Wait, actually, tie game, 3-3.
What? See, yeah, that person got it because that's one of those examples of something being rare but not very popular.
Yeah.
So or not very high in demand.
Right.
But it's still very rare.
Yeah, that's just great. That's a great deal. There's a lot of good deals to be had for Bib Fortuna. A Sakuda was sold. The Japanese one was sold in good condition for $96. There's a lot of deals to be made on this horrible, disgusting, horrible figure. All right, because how much more rare is the Canadian one than the Mexican one? It's probably much more rare. Huh?
Well, I think it might be like that situation. Remember when Bill Cable found that 45 back,
the 3PO?
Yes.
45 back,
yeah. We had a podcast
but
about
then
it.
like
Bruce listened to it. I don't know if you did.
I think if you hype up something enough though, it'll things will start coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
So I think if those Canadian cards start selling for $500 or $600, then who knows? Then maybe more of them will start popping up.
Yeah, that's true.
But
all right. Well, in that case, we finished the market watch. Phidias, you have demolished Steve. It turns out Steve doesn't like being a contestant, does he? Oh man, that was rough. That was brutal. That was like the World Series. Oh, gee, I'm sorry, guys. Are you guys both Dodgers fans? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have brought this up. Oh my God, that was just uncalled for. Oh God. rough. Okay, in that case, let's end it. We never end with a nugget, Steve, but let's end with our nugget, which is Phidias's new write-up. Okay.
Tis a nugget from the archive. Tis a nugget.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous.
From the archive.
Oh my God, they're gorgeous.
Okay, we're here at the Nugget, and this is the thing, Phidias. Sometimes when I know we're going to talk about something on the show, I don't read about it at all. So I saw that you wrote. This. Or Steve, did you write this, or did he?
No, Steve wrote it. I didn't write that.
Okay.
Steve wrote it.
So Steve, I saw that you wrote this nice article, and like most people do with nice articles on the archive, I chose not to read it. But it looks very interesting, and so explain to us what is in this article. Either of you, what is this little like Indian Hopi doll? What's happening here?
Well, okay. So
okay, yeah. Go ahead, Steve. Okay. Well.
Go ahead, Phidias.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
One of you go. Okay, Steve, go.
Okay. Well, years ago, I was visiting Phidias's place and the biblioteca, and I noticed a really, really odd set of items on a shelf, and I had no idea what the hell was going on with them. And it turns out that Bib Fortuna, his patent, references some really, really odd, obscure, old items, and Phidias was able to track them all down. And I think, in terms of focus collecting, that's just nuts. Like that, it's great. I mean, I don't think anyone else has really done this before, at least successfully. So yeah, that's where this started. It's a Bib Fortuna related topic that I knew would be really, really fun to talk about at some point whenever we got to this figure.
Okay, so the patent
a little bit about
references something else. So what does the patent reference?
Right. So, okay, I guess maybe just as a little intro on the patents, they reference anything that was similar in like aesthetic quality, things that you might not be related on the surface, but when you look at their kind of just physical characteristics, there is some similarity there. So with Bib, Phidias, what were there was 3 items, right, that he references on his patent?
And this all originated from again, Chris G is involved with a lot of this stuff. I remember it was 2012, and when everyone was still on Rebel Scum, and he posted something in the forum that he found these patent reference links for the patents that they originally found like years ago, right?
Right.
So the patent references were basically these links that, for a lot of the characters, a lot of the figures and some of them had like 3 or 4 references or 1 or 2, whatever. So when you clicked on the reference, you would see like for Bib, because I had like that figure on going for him back then. When I clicked on Bib, I saw that there were 3 patent references for him. One was this like Indian looking doll. The second one was this pilgrim girl, and they were all, those 2 were dolls.
Right.
And then the last one was like a statue or like some kind of like flower vase of like it was labeled. It was written in the patent reference as like an Oriental like flower vase or something, or Oriental flower holder.
Okay, so just to go back a second. So then all of the patents for Star Wars toys are available on Google through the Google patent sheet information. So
right.
So you just have a printout of the patent. Is that right, Phidias?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the actual patent is probably somewhere in Washington, D.C. Okay, so then so the other example that you gave here, Steve, was that Max Rebo was quoted as having a similarity to a stuffed toy elephant.
Right. So some references are obviously pretty clear what the connection is. When you look at this little stuffed elephant, it looks a good deal like Max Rebo.
Right. And so they're trying to protect themselves by saying, we know this looks like something else, but we're not the same thing.
I think that's essentially what it is. Yeah. yeah, it's just to aid the people reviewing these patents, so they know what else is out there, and it's almost like an acknowledgement of there's this similarity here, but we are different enough.
Okay, it's explaining how they're different. Wow, this is really wild. First of all, it's crucial for an earlier point made. The inventor is listed as Phil Tippett. Not Niles, Rodeo, Jamero, Patiro, or Macquarie, or Lucas, but Tippett himself.
Right.
Okay, so then
so
then it's compared to these three things. So the first thing is what? What's the first thing that they reference in the patent?
The doll wearing those robes and the patent reference when you read it for that doll is actually very vague because it only has the inventor's name. And with the Indian dolls case, I can't remember. I'm not looking at the pictures right now, but it only has the inventor's name.
Right.
And then I think the only description of it just says doll. It just says, does it just only say doll, Steve?
It's just like a seminal doll. Yeah. They're very vague in what they describe these things as, but
I know for sure it doesn't say seminal because that was the whole.
Because
that was the whole.
How you found it.
No,
that's how you found it. Yeah.
Exactly, because when it came to searching for it, that's where it became such a challenge because there were no descriptive like search terms used in the patent. Right?
It just says doll, filed in 1932, and it's a doll, and it's someone named Gudgeon is claiming to be. First of all, there's this amazing cultural appropriation and frankly thievery going on here, where someone's taking an Indian doll and saying that it's their patent, right? Because unless Gudgeon is a member of a tribe, then this is a clear example of thievery.
Yeah.
Right.
So screw this guy.
That's true. But then and I guess that was also what made it so fun too was because then that's when the hunt started, because I started searching, try just searching on eBay and just like going on eBay and just putting in the term doll. You'll come up with like thousands and thousands of like, just irrelevant things. So I had to like just start narrowing it. It became like a trial and error kind of search because I would just be searching various terms. Like I think at first I started out with Indian doll, and that was still way too vague.
And this is like Native American Indians. What we're talking.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then I would just kind of just keep on narrowing it down, and then like I would start seeing things that looked like that but weren't necessarily like it, and then I started going by what the sellers were using in their descriptions.
Yeah. And
then finally, like one seller, it wasn't the same doll, but the seller put like Seminole Indian, and from Florida, and the Seminoles, I guess, are a tribe in like Central Florida.
Yeah.
Right.
So
who are most interesting because they're actually the runaway slaves and the Seminole tribe are completely intermixed. So it's a pretty interesting cultural area and cross. Anyways, that's the Seminoles are.
Right, and then the patent has like they put the location of the one that's filing it, and that patent was filed in Florida as well. It was Fort Lauderdale, so that's another kind of connecting piece, I guess, for the.
Wow. So you found the doll.
I finally found it. And I'm like, I don't know how many. It took years. It took years of just like having stuff on my watch list on eBay and just searching on eBay for these things to come up, these three pieces. But it took years, and like that doll finally came up. It came up. I don't know if the seller was in Florida, but he had one, and it matched it perfectly, right? And then when I started emailing him some questions, he told me that he got it from I don't remember if he told me he was in Florida, but it's basically like a tourist gift. He just like was driving down the road, and one of the stands was selling those dolls, like one of those roadside stands.
Yeah.
And he just bought one.
Wow.
And he just bought one, and then he just put it up for sale. So that's how I was able to find that piece eventually.
And it's amazing looking at this doll because it's not at all like Bib Fortuna, But
right.
But I mean, I
then it is.
sort of see it like when you put them next to each other, the way that the clothes is draped down, and
it's almost like a striped pattern on, at least in the drawing on Bib's patent. It's got that kind of layered look to his robes, and the doll has that kind of layered effect on the robes on the doll too. So I guess that must be it. That's the characteristic that connects them.
Wow, this is great. This is like really interesting stuff that they would somehow figure out that they had to do this. Now the next thing is an Oriental flower vase.
Flower. I think in the patent it's called flower holder.
Flower holder, yeah. And this one's actually, so that doll was 1932. This one is from 1926. That's when this one was filed. Crazy. Yeah.
And is that Cowan, right? Cowan pottery, right? Mm-hmm. And that's probably my favorite piece, because I've always just been a fan in general of like art and like sculptures. Mm-hmm. So to be able to find that one was like kind of like a extra rewarding. But that's the same thing too. Like originally, like I would just put in like those pan holders' names for searches, but that came up with nothing. That would come up with nothing at all. And then, but with Cowan, it was he's actually has a company, I guess. I don't know if he's still around, but he actually sculpted. He made a lot of stuff. He actually has a book. So I was able to find that again, just more eBay searching, and it finally came up just one day where. But that one also was hard to do, because a lot of the owners of these Cowan is not a very it's not like a very well-known company, so people that own stuff from him, they might not even know that it's a Cowan piece. Right. So they won't, they won't, they'll just list it kind of generically when they're selling it. And when I finally found that one, I don't even think the seller put vase or like, flower holder or anything. She just put like statue, like a Chinese statue. Cause that's another thing. It's the keywords were so important, and it's like, it was a lot of trial and error, like trying to locate that one too, Yeah. But it finally, it eventually came up, and then I remember the day I found it, and it was finally delivered to my house. It was like, I sent Chris G a picture of it, because he was, and then and he was like, oh, you're searching for those patent reference things, like, because in his Chris G voice, but so. Anyways, that was another fun one.
On this one, I guess it's funny because earlier we were talking about his design as a character, and Rodas Jamero talked about how he wanted him to have kind of almost like a feminine quality to his posture, and this is this like really beautiful, elegant female figure that has similar robes, and I guess it's the robes that's connecting them, but otherwise there's nothing. It's just funny.
Yeah.
Wow. This is really intense. And then there's a third one, which is just the least understandable.
Right.
That was maybe the funniest, but that was probably the hardest one, because I couldn't figure out for such a long time what that king doll was. It was like you couldn't. I couldn't tell that it was like at first when you just look at that doll, and the description from the patent is also, it's just very vague. It doesn't say anything on it except that it's a doll. So I couldn't figure out that it was a pilgrim doll. Like my initial searches were like Western European doll or Eastern European doll or like early American doll or something. I was trying to like come up with all these search terms that were like coming up with nothing. It was like just coming up with stuff that was too vague. And then I was even thinking that because the skirt was so puffy, like poofy, I was thinking it was like I was thinking it was like a push pin doll, like a doll that you would like put needles in.
Yeah, this looks like for context, it's a black and white drawing of it's a line drawing of what looks to be a very fat woman with braids, and she looks as the only thing that connects it to Bib Fortuna is these braids could be considered like his disgusting head slime.
Right.
Wow. And so what did it end up being? What kind of doll did it end up being?
Well, the one clue that finally I noticed that finally like unlocked everything was her collars. Like if you look at her collars underneath her neck, like how they're very long and pointy.
Right.
Mm.
When I started to look at that, I was like, okay, wait, that's something kind of unique. You don't really see that on other kinds of dolls, right? And then like I think I just got lucky one day when I was searching for dolls on eBay that I saw like this pattern to like sew a pilgrim girl out like costume.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the Mayflower and all that. You know, the early landing on Plymouth Rock kind of thing.
Yes.
Right. So I saw the outfits that those women were wearing, and I was like, oh, that could be a pilgrim collar. That's the kind of collar that the pilgrims wear. You know, so then when I narrowed my search down to pilgrim costumes or pilgrim dolls or pilgrim toys, things like that, that's when I started coming up. That's when I was on the right track finally with my searches. And then there's this line of dolls with pilgrim girls that like they have like a basket of fruit sewn onto their hand. Mm-hmm. And then they of course they have braids on the back, and then they have like a little cap on their head. So that was finally it. Once I narrowed down my search to pilgrim girl dolls, I finally was able to locate that. You know.
Wow.
And this one's from 1943. So it's from Pennsylvania. Yeah. So it's just, oh man, it's crazy.
Wow. And so, all right, so then all these things were cited by the lawyers as being potential influences on the Bib Fortuna patent. And you just located that. And that's... It's weird because, I mean, it's not like these figures actually influenced Bib Fortuna, right? So how does this work? It's not like they actually were like, hey, how are we going to do this character? And then Phil Tippett was like, well, I was driving through Florida one day on my way to Sturbridge Village in Massachusetts when I accidentally ran over a Chinese family. And anyway, you know, like...
Yeah, it just shows the kind of weird state of mind that like patent lawyers must be in at all times. Yeah. Like just trying to find these really strange visual connections that really don't have anything to do with what they're being referenced to.
And we might have to get Tommy on here to discuss this, but would they have to pay the people who made these dolls, who held the patents on these dolls, any money for every Bib Fortuna toy that was sold?
That's a good question. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Really, really strange.
Wow. Well, this is really next level collecting, Phidias. I feel slightly bad about how much I've disparaged your favorite character. But yeah, it's this is really cool getting to see these things together, and I don't know. We should maybe have a Photoshop contest. Who can Photoshop these three things together to make it look the most like Bib Fortuna? Can you do it? We'll put that out there.
The other thing too is like, you know, all those references or all the patents, Chris accumulated them all on the archive in a reference section. So if you are curious about other characters that, you know, all the bizarre things they might be connected to, you can find out if you go to the archive.
Yes, which is the point of the entire show. Go to the archive.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Phidias, for eventually making it onto the show.
You're welcome. No problem.
Hey,
all right. So that was good. I am getting ready to upload, and I'm trying to edit the video by New Year's Day, Steve. I don't know if I'm going to do it. It takes a long time to edit. I've already edited basically half the show, but having to wait for Phidias. He may push it in January. But the good news, Steve, is that it doesn't matter at all.
No.
Got a fair amount of feedback from last month, which you don't really need to talk about. The Grail scale got a lot of attention.
It did, yeah.
I edited out us talking about it earlier in the show. I don't think we need to talk about it. Who cares? I tried to do something fun I thought would help the hobby. It turns out it just made everybody angry and hate each other. It's not my fault the whole world has become Hillary and Trump. I'm just over here. I'm just Kanye trying to bring peace and love to everybody. But no one wants it. Everyone wants hate. I'm trying to bring together the people. That's okay. I did put out an interesting question about whether or not people watch it on YouTube or on as a podcast. And I'm really happy to see that a lot of people really do. Because now that I have my YouTube show, and I'm like, every time I get a subscriber, like it actually gives me a sense of joy and happiness. And then I look at the Kivecast, and Kivecast has like 200 viewers and has like tens of thousands of minutes watched and thousands of views. So we're getting a lot of traction there. So
it's a really good thing that you've done that. I mean, it's thanks for taking the extra time to do it too.
Well, it's where it's where the audience is going. I think that as time goes on, more people are going to have this on in the background, like you are right now. That guy, you who picked your nose earlier with your shirt untucked. You're listening to the show on YouTube. So it's just funny because it's been really hard to keep podcast enhanced because Apple took out that functionality 4 years ago. So I have to have an old version of GarageBand that I record the show on, and no one does enhanced podcasts anymore because it's just a stupid idea. So, but I knew that it was important for some reason, and then when I came up with the idea of doing YouTube, now all I have to do is just convert the video using a video converter with the help of Lobart, and then all the work that I do for the enhanced version is just transferred immediately over to YouTube. So it all pans
great.
out.
Good.
Yes, cool. Who is the figure next month, Steve?
So we've got the three-eyed monster. Reese is next.
Ooh, Reese. That's kind of a fun one.
He's gonna be good. And I don't know if we were talking about maybe getting a blog pod out relatively soon. We got a good article from Ron, and we've got a lot of archive party stuff to talk about.
Yes,
soon,
we do.
So,
we do.
A lot of good things.
A lot of good things. All right, Steve. Well, then, in that case, until those good things happen, to you I say, wampa wampa.
Adios.